The stars looked peaceful from where Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Endeavour. His ship moved quietly through space toward the Proxima Centauri system. 3 years of planning had led to this moment. Humanity was finally reaching out to touch another star system with their own hands. Dr. Lisa Ward looked up from her science station with excitement in her eyes. She had worked on this mission longer than anyone else. Her dream was to find signs of life beyond Earth. The data streaming across her screens showed promising readings from the third planet in the system. "Captain, I'm getting some interesting mineral signatures from the surface," she said while adjusting her instruments. "This could be exactly what we hope to find." Jake nodded and walked over to check her readings. The Endeavour was humanity's first ship capable of faster-than-light travel. It had taken them 2 months to reach this system. Every person on Earth was watching and waiting for news of what they might discover. Engineer Pete Collins called out from his station near the back of the bridge. "All systems running smooth, Captain. The fusion reactor is performing better than expected. We could stay out here for another 6 months without any problems." Communications specialist Amy Rodriguez sat at her console monitoring radio waves from space. She'd been listening for any signs of intelligent life since they left Earth. So far, she had only found the normal background noise of the universe. The crew of 43 people came from 12 different countries. They had trained together for 3 years before this mission. Every one of them knew they were making history. Children on Earth would learn their names in school books. Jake walked to the main viewing screen and stared at the red dwarf star ahead of them. Proxima Centauri was much smaller than Earth's sun. The planets here would be cold and probably lifeless, but they had to check. Humanity needed to know if they were alone in the galaxy. "Amy, send our daily report back to Earth," Jake ordered. "Let them know we're starting detailed scans of the planetary system." Amy began composing the message that would take 4 years to reach home. Even with their breakthrough in faster-than-light travel, communication still moved at the speed of light. Earth would not know what happened here until long after they returned home. Dr. Ward suddenly looked up from her station with confusion on her face. "Captain, I'm picking up some unusual energy readings. There's something out there that doesn't match any natural phenomenon I know." Before Jake could respond, bright lights appeared on the viewing screen. Ships materialized out of nowhere around the Endeavour. The alien vessels were smooth and curved, unlike anything humans had ever built. They glowed with a soft blue light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "Red alert!" Jake shouted. "All hands to battle stations." The Endeavour had no weapons. It was built for science and exploration, not war. The ship carried mining lasers for collecting samples and small defensive shields, but nothing that could fight off attackers. Amy's console erupted with incoming signals. Strange sounds and patterns filled the bridge speakers. "Captain, they're trying to communicate, but I can't understand any of it. The computer is trying to find patterns in their language." One of the alien ships moved closer to the Endeavour. A beam of energy reached out and grabbed the human vessel. Jake felt his ship shudder as the alien tractor beam took hold. "Pete, can we break free?" Jake asked. "I'm trying, Captain, but their technology is way beyond ours. The engines are at full power, but we're not moving," Pete replied with sweat on his forehead. Dr. Ward worked frantically at her science station. "I'm detecting 7 different ship designs out there. They appear to represent multiple species working together. This is incredible. We've found not just one alien race, but an entire alliance of them." The alien ships surrounded the Endeavour completely. More beams reached out and locked onto the human vessel. Jake realized they were being captured, not welcomed. These aliens did not seem interested in peaceful contact. "Amy, try broadcasting our friendship messages in all the languages." "We prepared," Jake ordered. "Let them know we come in peace." Amy sent out mathematical sequences, music, and pictures showing human culture. The aliens ignored every attempt at communication. Instead, more ships appeared around them. Soon the Endeavour was surrounded by dozens of alien vessels. Without warning, the alien ships opened fire. Energy beams struck the Endeavour's hull in multiple places. The lights went out on the bridge and emergency power kicked in. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. "Hull breach in Section 7, Pete shouted over the alarms. "That's where the science labs are located." Jake's heart sank. Dr. Ward's main laboratory was in Section 7. He watched her face turn pale as she realized what had happened to her life's work. Years of research and equipment were now floating in space. The alien attack continued for several minutes. They seemed to be deliberately disabling the ship rather than destroying it completely. Piece by piece, they stripped away the Endeavor's ability to move or defend itself. Life support is failing in the damaged sections, Pete reported. We're losing atmosphere fast. Jake made the hardest decision of his career. All hands abandon the damaged sections. Seal the blast doors and retreat to the central hull. Dr. Ward refused to leave her station. Captain, I need to save the research data. This information about their technology could be vital for Earth's defense. Lisa, get out of there now. That's an order, Jake commanded. She worked desperately to download files from her computer systems. The alien energy beams had damaged most of her equipment, but some data might still be recoverable. As she worked, another blast struck the ship. This time it hit Section 7 directly. The explosion threw Dr. Ward across her laboratory. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut automatically, sealing off the damaged area. Jake watched helplessly as his chief science officer disappeared behind the steel doors. Lisa, respond, he called into his communicator. Silence answered him back. Pete checked his damaged control systems. Captain, Section 7 is completely destroyed. Anyone in there? He did not finish the sentence. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. Dr. Ward had been with the program from the beginning. She had designed many of the scientific instruments that made this mission possible. Now she was gone, killed by aliens who attacked without provocation or warning. The alien ships continued their assault until the Endeavor was completely helpless. Then they stopped firing and waited. Jake looked around his damaged bridge at his surviving crew members. They were trapped millions of miles from Earth with no way to fight back or escape. Amy suddenly looked up from her communication station with surprise. Captain, I'm detecting a signal being transmitted back toward Earth. It appears to be coming from our own ship. Jake frowned. We didn't send any distress signal. No, sir, but the quantum entanglement beacon is activating automatically. It's sending our location and everything that just happened back to Earth. For the first time since the attack began, Jake felt a spark of hope. The beacon was experimental technology that could send information instantly across any distance. Earth would know about the alien attack within minutes, not years. The alien ships began moving the crippled Endeavor toward one of the planets in the system. Jake and his crew could only watch as their captors took them to an unknown fate. But now Earth would know what happened here. Humanity would not be caught unprepared if these aliens decided to attack their homeworld. As the Endeavor was towed through space, Jake made a silent promise to Dr. Ward and to his species. If he survived, he would make sure the aliens paid for their unprovoked attack on peaceful explorers. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the Joint Space Command headquarters, staring at the screens that had changed everything. The quantum beacon's message from the Endeavor had arrived 37 minutes ago. Since then, every leader on Earth had been contacted and briefed about humanity's first contact with alien life. The news was not what anyone had hoped for. Show me the transmission again, Kate ordered her technical staff. The holographic display replayed the final moments of the Endeavor's capture. Everyone in the command center watched in silence as alien ships surrounded the human vessel and opened fire without warning. They could hear Captain Morrison's voice trying to establish peaceful contact, right up until the communications were cut off. President Richard Hayes arrived at the command center with his emergency cabinet. His face showed the strain of the last hour. Every world leader had been calling him since the news broke. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and their new neighbors had just committed an act of war. Admiral Sullivan, give me your assessment, the president said. Kate activated the main display showing everything they knew about the attack. Sir, the Endeavor was conducting a peaceful scientific mission. They made no aggressive moves and attempted to communicate using our established first contact protocols. The aliens ignored all attempts at communication and deliberately disabled our ship. General Frank Cooper studied the tactical data with the eyes of a career military officer. The attack pattern suggests they wanted to capture rather than destroy. They used precise strikes to disable the ship's engines and weapon systems. The Endeavour didn't have weapon systems, Kate reminded him. It was a science vessel. Exactly my point, Frank replied. These aliens attacked a defenseless exploration ship. That tells us everything we need to know about their intentions toward humanity. Dr. Matthew Brooks from the Advanced Weapons Division had been silent until now. The energy signatures from their weapons are unlike anything in our theoretical models. Their technology appears to be centuries ahead of ours in some areas. President Hayes looked around the room at his advisors. Recommendations? Kate stepped forward. Sir, we have to assume that Captain Morrison and his crew are either dead or captured. We also have to assume the aliens now have access to our technology and information about Earth's location and defenses. What defenses? General Cooper asked grimly. We have asteroid mining platforms and a few patrol ships. Nothing that could stand up to what we just saw. The president turned to Dr. Brooks. Matthew, how quickly can we develop weapons capable of fighting these aliens? Dr. Brooks pulled up technical specifications on his tablet. Sir, we've been working on theoretical weapon designs for space combat, but they were low-priority projects. With unlimited resources and emergency authorization, we could have prototypes ready in 6 weeks. 6 weeks? President Hayes shook his head. In 6 weeks, those aliens could be orbiting Earth with a fleet. Kate had been thinking about the problem differently. Mr. President, we don't need to build new weapons from scratch. We need to weaponize what we already have in space. She activated the display showing Earth's orbital infrastructure. Mining platforms, cargo haulers, construction ships, and research stations filled the screen. Thousands of civilian vessels worked in space around Earth and throughout the solar system. Our mining ships have industrial lasers that can cut through asteroids, Kate explained. Our cargo haulers have the largest engines ever built by humans. Our construction mechs can work in zero gravity and hostile environments. General Cooper caught on to her thinking. You want to convert civilian ships into warships? It's been done before in human history, Kate replied. During World War II, passenger ships became troop transports and merchant vessels became escort carriers. We can do the same thing in space. Dr. Brooks looked skeptical. Admiral, those mining lasers aren't designed for combat. They're industrial tools. A laser that can cut through solid rock can cut through alien hull plating, Kate responded. We just need to modify the targeting systems and increase the power output. President Hayes made his decision. Do it. I'm declaring a global emergency and activating the Defense Production Act. Every nation on Earth will contribute resources to this effort. Over the next several days, space around Earth transformed into the largest military construction project in human history. Mining ships were pulled in from the asteroid belt and refitted with weapon systems. Cargo haulers received armor plating and defensive shields. Even tourist spacecraft were converted into scout vessels and communications relays. Kate established her command center on Luna Station, humanity's largest orbital facility. From there, she could coordinate the massive conversion effort taking place throughout the solar system. Every available engineer and technician worked around the clock to turn civilian ships into instruments of war. The converted mining ship Defiance became the flagship of humanity's first interstellar fleet. Originally built to harvest ice from Jupiter's moons, it now carried the most powerful laser array ever mounted on a human vessel. Its industrial-grade hull could withstand impacts that would destroy traditional warships. Captain Ben Turner took command of the Vengeance, a converted cargo hauler that had once transported supplies between Mars and Earth. Now it carried a battalion of space marines and enough firepower to level a city. The ship's massive engines could accelerate it to speeds that would crush the crew of any normal vessel. But the cargo haulers were built for heavy loads and high acceleration. Commander Stephanie Lewis led a squadron of armed scout ships based on the design of asteroid survey vessels. Fast and maneuverable, they could strike quickly and disappear before enemy weapons could target them. Each scout carried sensor equipment that could detect alien ships from tremendous distances. The most important addition to humanity's fleet was the volunteers who crewed the ships. Word of the alien attack had spread across Earth within hours. Millions of people wanted to join the rescue mission to save Captain Morrison and his crew. Military veterans, merchant sailors, and civilian pilots all volunteered to serve on the hastily converted warships. Kate selected her crews carefully. Space combat would be unlike anything humans had ever experienced before. The men and women she chose needed to be tough, resourceful, and willing to take risks that no sane person would consider. 3 weeks after the Endeavor's capture, humanity's response fleet was ready to depart. 57 ships ranging from converted mining vessels to modified research platforms, prepared to make the journey to Proxima Centauri. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. President Hayes came to Luna Station to address the fleet before departure. His speech was broadcast to every nation on Earth. Today, humanity reaches out to the stars not in peace but in righteous anger, he said. Our explorers were attacked while conducting peaceful research. Our citizens were killed or captured by aliens who refused to communicate or negotiate. Kate stood on the bridge of the Defiance listening to the president's words. Around her, the bridge crew made final preparations for the journey ahead. These men and women had volunteered to travel across interstellar space to fight enemies they had never seen using weapons that had never been tested in combat. We go not as conquerors, but as rescuers, the president continued. We will bring our people home, and we will make it clear to any alien species watching that humanity will not be intimidated or bullied. The president's speech ended, and Kate activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. We depart for Proxima Centauri in 30 minutes. Our mission is to rescue Captain Morrison and his crew, and to demonstrate that attacking peaceful humans carries consequences. She paused and looked out at the stars that no longer seemed peaceful and welcoming. Somewhere out there, aliens were holding human prisoners. They had made a terrible mistake when they chose to attack the Endeavor instead of trying to communicate. Remember, we're not just fighting for Jake Morrison and his crew, Kate continued. We're fighting for every human who will ever travel to the stars. We're fighting for our children and grandchildren who deserve to explore the galaxy without fear. The fleet departed Earth orbit in formation. 57 ships carrying humanity's answer to alien aggression. They would take a month to reach Proxima Centauri, a month to plan and prepare for a battle unlike any in human history. As Earth fell behind them, Kate made a promise to herself and to her species. The aliens who attacked the Endeavor were about to learn why humans had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war. They were about to discover that attacking peaceful explorers was the worst mistake they could have made. The galaxy was about to meet humanity's wrath. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the Defiance, studying the tactical displays that showed alien ships positioned around a small moon orbiting the third planet. Sensor report, Kate ordered. Commander Lisa Grant, the fleet's intelligence officer, worked at her station analyzing the data streaming from their scout ships. Admiral, we're detecting 43 alien vessels of various sizes. They appear to be guarding some kind of facility on the moon's surface. Kate nodded grimly. That facility was almost certainly where the aliens were holding Captain Morrison and his crew. What about the alien ship designs? 7 different configurations. Just like Dr. Ward reported before she died, Grant replied. It appears we're facing an alliance of multiple alien species. Captain Ben Turner's voice came over the communication system from the Vengeance. Admiral, my Marines are ready for the rescue mission. Give us the word, and we'll get our people back. Kate appreciated Turner's eagerness, but she knew they needed more information before committing to an assault. Hold position, Ben. Commander Lewis, take your scouts in for a closer look at that facility. Commander Stephanie Lewis acknowledged the order and led her squadron of converted survey ships toward the alien base. The small, fast vessels used their original asteroid scanning equipment to map the facility's defenses and locate possible entry points. On the moon's surface, High Commander Vexthul of the Zephyrian Confederacy watched his sensors detect the approaching human ships. He had been expecting some kind of rescue attempt, but not so soon and not with so many vessels. How did these primitives develop interstellar capability so quickly? he asked his science advisor. Unknown, High Commander. Our intelligence suggested it would take them decades to achieve faster-than-light travel. Vexthul studied the human ship designs with growing concern. They were crude and functional, built for industrial work rather than elegant space travel. But there were dozens of them, and they appeared to be heavily armed. Open communications with the human fleet, Vexthul ordered. Perhaps we can resolve this situation peacefully. Back on the Defiance, Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez detected the incoming alien transmission. Admiral, we're receiving a signal from the alien base. Kate hesitated for a moment. These were the same aliens who had attacked the Endeavor, without warning, and killed Dr. Ward. But she was a military officer, not a murderer. Put them on screen. The main display showed High Commander Vexthul standing in what appeared to be a command center. He was tall and thin with blue-gray skin and large dark eyes. When he spoke, the computer translated his words into English. Human vessels. I am High Commander Vexthul of the Zephyrian Confederacy. Your people are unharmed and will be returned to you if you withdraw from the system immediately. Kate stepped forward so the alien could see her clearly. I am Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Human Defense Fleet. You attacked our peaceful exploration ship without provocation. You killed our scientists and captured our crew. There will be consequences for those actions. Vexthul appeared genuinely confused by her words. Admiral Sullivan, your species has a documented history of violence and warfare. We detected weapon signatures on your vessels and military formations in your fleet deployment. We acted to prevent future aggression against peaceful civilizations. The Endeavor carried no weapons, Kate replied angrily. It was a scientific, research vessel on a mission of exploration and discovery. Your ship carried mining lasers capable of destroying asteroids, Vexthul countered. Your crew included military personnel trained in combat operations. These are clear indicators of aggressive intent. Kate realized that the aliens had completely misunderstood human technology and intentions. The mining lasers were industrial tools, and the military personnel were there for standard security purposes. But she also realized something else that chilled her to the bone. You've been watching us, she said. You've been spying on Earth. The Confederacy monitors all developing civilizations to assess their threat potential, Vexthul admitted. Your species shows all the characteristics of a future galactic menace. We acted to prevent that threat from materializing. Kate felt her anger building. These aliens had decided humanity was dangerous based on incomplete information and cultural misunderstandings. Then they had attacked first and asked questions later. High Commander, you made a terrible mistake, Kate said coldly. You attacked peaceful explorers based on your own paranoid assumptions. Now you're about to learn why humans have survived and prospered despite thousands of years of conflict. She cut the communication link and turned to her tactical officer. Signal all ships. Prepare for combat operations. The alien fleet moved to intercept the approaching humans. Vexthul had 43 ships under his command, representing the combined military forces of 7 different species. His vessels were sleek and advanced, built specifically for space combat with energy shields and sophisticated targeting systems. Kate's fleet looked primitive by comparison. Her ships were converted civilian vessels with bolted-on weapons and improvised armor. But they had one advantage the aliens didn't expect. They were designed to work in the harsh environment of space mining and construction. The battle began when the alien ships opened fire with their standard disable and capture weapons. Energy beams designed to knock out enemy systems struck the human vessels with devastating force. On any normal warship, the attack would have ended the fight immediately. But human mining ships were built to withstand asteroid impacts and solar radiation. Their hulls were thick and their systems were redundant. When the main power grid failed, backup fusion reactors came online. When the engines were damaged, emergency thrusters activated. Kate watched her ships absorb punishment that would have destroyed conventional warships. All vessels return fire. Show these aliens what human engineering can do. The converted mining ship Defiance fired its main laser array at the nearest alien cruiser. The industrial-grade cutting beam designed to slice through solid rock punched, straight through the alien ship's energy shields and hull plating. The alien vessel exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Across the battlefield, human ships proved that civilian technology could be just as deadly as military hardware when used creatively. Cargo haulers used their massive engines to ram alien vessels. Construction mechs designed for building space stations tore apart enemy ships with their mechanical arms. Captain Turner led his Marines in a boarding assault on the alien prison facility. The Vengeance used its heavy armor to absorb defensive fire while landing parties deployed to the moon's surface. Turner's troops carried mining equipment converted into weapons, along with construction tools that could cut through any material. The aliens defending the facility were completely unprepared for human assault tactics. They had expected a civilized battle between military forces, not a desperate rescue mission by troops who treated every obstacle as just another engineering problem to solve. Sergeant Linda Hayes led her squad through the facility's corridors, using plasma cutters to burn through locked doors. Corporal Danny Ford used a construction mech to tear apart defensive barriers while his team advanced behind him. They found Captain Morrison and the surviving crew of the Endeavour in a detention block deep inside the facility. The humans had been held in comfortable but secure cells while their captors tried to understand human psychology and technology. Captain Morrison, this is Sergeant Hayes. We're here to get you out, Linda announced as her team cut through the cell doors. Jake Morrison looked up at his rescuers with relief and amazement. Sergeant, how did Earth respond so quickly? We've only been gone a month. Sir, the whole planet mobilized after we received your beacon transmission. Admiral Sullivan is upstairs kicking alien ass with 57 ships. As the rescue teams evacuated the human prisoners, the space battle continued above them. Kate's fleet had lost 12 ships, but they had destroyed or disabled 26 alien vessels. The remaining alien forces were retreating toward the outer system. High Commander Vex Thul sat in his damaged command ship watching his fleet fall apart around him. He had started this conflict believing humans were primitive and aggressive. Now he realized they were something much worse. They were primitive, aggressive, and absolutely ruthless when protecting their own kind. Signal the retreat, he ordered his communications officer, and send an emergency message to the Confederacy Council. Tell them we have awakened something terrible. Kate received the report that the rescue mission had succeeded, just as the last alien ships jumped to faster than light speed. Captain Morrison and 34 other survivors from the Endeavour were safe and heading back to the fleet. But as she watched the alien ships escape, Kate knew this was just the beginning. The aliens had attacked humanity based on fear and misunderstanding. Now they would report back to their allies that humans were indeed as dangerous as they had suspected. The galaxy was about to learn that attacking humans carried consequences. And humanity was about to discover that the universe was a much more dangerous place than they had ever imagined. 3 months after the battle at Proxima Centauri, the galaxy was preparing for war. High Commander Vex Thul's emergency transmission had reached every major civilization within 50 light-years of Earth. The message was simple and terrifying. Humanity was exactly as dangerous as the Confederacy had feared. On the planet Corvus Prime, Supreme War Leader Kethvar studied the battle reports with growing alarm. The Corvan Empire had been the dominant military power in this region of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. Their warships were feared throughout dozens of star systems. These humans destroyed a Confederacy fleet using converted mining equipment? Kethvar asked his intelligence chief. Yes, Supreme Leader. They took civilian vessels and turned them into weapons of war in a matter of weeks. Their tactics showed no regard for conventional rules of engagement. Kethvar activated a holographic display showing the human attack patterns. They used ramming attacks and suicide runs against superior forces. This is not the behavior of a civilized species. Similar conversations were taking place across the galaxy as 5 major alien civilizations received Vex Thul's warning. The Ethereal Collective, known for their advanced technology, agreed to provide ships and weapons. The hive minds of Arcturus offered their swarm tactics. The crystal beings of the Veil Nebula contributed their energy manipulation abilities. Within days of Vex Thul's transmission, the Galactic Defense Coalition was formed. Nearly 1,000 warships from 7 different species began converging on the outer edges of human space. Their mission was simple: contain the human threat before it could spread. On Earth, President Hayes convened an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. Intelligence reports were coming in from deep space monitoring stations, showing massive alien fleet movements heading toward the solar system. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood before the assembled world leaders with grim news. Ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at the largest military force ever assembled in known galactic history. Conservative estimates put enemy strength at over 900 vessels representing multiple alien species. General Frank Cooper studied the tactical projections with a soldier's eye for detail. Admiral, our current fleet strength is 230 ships, most of them converted civilian vessels. We're outnumbered more than 4 to 1. But we have advantages they don't, Kate replied. We're fighting for our survival on our home territory. Every human in space will be fighting for their families and their world. Dr. Matthew Brooks had been working around the clock to improve humanity's weapons technology. Admiral, we've learned a lot from studying the wreckage of alien ships from the Proxima battle. Their energy shields are vulnerable to focused electromagnetic pulses. We can modify our mining lasers to exploit this weakness. President Hayes looked around the room at his advisors. How long do we have before they arrive? Based on their current course and speed, approximately 6 weeks, Kate answered. But sir, I don't think they're planning to attack Earth directly. She activated a star map showing projected alien fleet movements. Intelligence suggests they're going to establish a blockade around our solar system. They want to trap us here and prevent human expansion into the galaxy. The president nodded grimly. A siege. They plan to starve us out. Exactly. And if that doesn't work, they'll probably try to bombard Earth from orbit until we surrender, unconditionally. Over the following weeks, humanity prepared for the greatest battle in its history. Every shipyard in the solar system worked at maximum capacity, converting civilian vessels into warships. Asteroid mining platforms became mobile fortresses. Space construction equipment was turned into siege breakers. Captain Jake Morrison recovered from his ordeal as an alien prisoner, took command of the rebuilt Endeavour. The new ship was based on a heavy cargo hauler, but mounted weapons that could crack a moon. Jake had volunteered to lead the most dangerous mission of the war. Captain Morrison, your target is the Coalition command ship, Admiral Sullivan briefed him. Intelligence indicates it's a massive vessel at the center of their formation. If we can disable their command structure, the rest of their fleet might break apart. Jake studied the tactical data showing the alien flagship. It was 3 times larger than any human ship and protected by multiple layers of defensive systems. Admiral, this is going to be a one-way trip. I know, Jake. But if we can break their command structure, we might save Earth and every human colony in space. The battle began at the edge of the solar system as advance elements of both fleets engaged near Jupiter's orbit. Human scout ships, using hit-and-run tactics, struck at alien supply lines while the main alien fleet moved steadily toward Earth. Commander Stephanie Lewis led her scouts in desperate attacks against alien supply convoys. Her ships were outnumbered and outgunned, but they used their knowledge of the solar system to set ambushes among the asteroid fields. All scouts, remember, we're not trying to win stand-up fights, Lewis transmitted to her squadron. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and get out before they can bring their main guns to bear. The alien fleet commanders were frustrated by human tactics that ignored all conventional rules of space warfare. Human ships would ram enemy vessels rather than surrender when damaged. Human crews would detonate their own ships rather than allow them to be captured. Supreme War Leader Kethvar watched the preliminary battles from his flagship with growing concern. These humans fight like wild animals. They show no regard for their own survival. His tactical advisor studied the battle reports with confusion. Supreme Leader, their casualty rates are unsustainable, yet their remaining forces continue attacking, with increased ferocity. It's because they're fighting for their home world, Kethvar realized. Every ship we destroy only makes the survivors more desperate and dangerous. As the alien fleet approached Earth, Kate Sullivan prepared humanity's final defense. 300 human ships, everything that could fly and fight, formed a defensive line between the enemy and their home world. The odds were still overwhelming, but Kate had one more surprise for the aliens. Deep space monitoring stations had detected something the enemy didn't expect: reinforcements. Human colonies on Mars, Europa, and the outer planets had been building their own defense fleets. Mining companies, shipping corporations, and research stations had contributed every vessel they could spare. Even tourist operators had armed their passenger ships and joined the fight. "Admiral Sullivan, this is Captain Rodriguez on the merchant vessel Liberty," came a transmission from one of the civilian volunteers. "We may not be military, but Earth is our home too. Where do you want us?" Kate felt tears in her eyes as she watched hundreds of civilian ships take their positions alongside the military fleet. Families who had never seen combat were willing to die to protect their world. The climactic battle began when the Galactic Defense Coalition opened fire on the human defensive line. Energy beams and missile barrages lit up space as nearly 1,500 ships engaged in the largest space battle in galactic history. Human ships proved once again that industrial equipment could be devastatingly effective in combat. Mining. Ships used their cutting lasers to slice through alien hulls. Construction vessels threw asteroids at enemy ships using their cargo handling equipment. The battle raged for hours as both sides took tremendous casualties. Human ships were destroyed faster than Kate had hoped, but they were taking alien vessels with them. The exchange rate was better than anyone had expected. Captain Morrison led his assault team toward the alien flagship through a maze of laser fire and exploding ships. The rebuilt Endeavour had been modified with the most powerful weapons humanity could build, but it was still just one ship against a fortress. "All crew, this is Captain Morrison," Jake announced over the ship's communications. "We all know this is a suicide run, but if we can take out their command ship, we might save Earth and every human in space." The Endeavour punched through the alien defensive screen using raw speed and firepower. Jake's crew worked frantically to keep the ship together, as enemy weapons tore chunks out of their hull and disabled system after system. They reached the alien flagship just as their main engines failed. Jake activated the ship's self-destruct system and aimed the Endeavour directly at the enemy command bridge. "For Dr. Ward and for humanity," Jake said quietly as his ship struck the alien flagship. The explosion that followed could be seen from Earth's surface. The alien command ship broke apart in a chain reaction that spread to nearby escort vessels. Supreme War Leader Kethvar and his entire staff died in the blast that Jake Morrison's sacrifice created. With their command structure destroyed, the Galactic Defense Coalition fleet began to fall apart. Different species started retreating to protect their own territories. The coordinated attack on humanity became a confused retreat as alien commanders argued over who should take control. Admiral Sullivan watched the enemy fleet break apart and retreat from the solar system. Humanity had won, but the cost had been terrible. Over half the human fleet had been destroyed, and thousands of brave men and women had died defending their world. But Earth was safe, and humanity had earned its place in the galaxy through strength and sacrifice. 6 months after the great battle that saved Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the observation deck of Kepler Station, humanity's first permanent base in the Proxima Centauri system. The space station had been built on the same moon where Captain Morrison and his crew had been imprisoned by the aliens. The irony was not lost on anyone that humans were now living and working in the place where they had once been held captive. The alien prison facility had been converted into a research center where human scientists studied captured alien technology. Dr. Sandra Kim, the fleet's xenopsychologist, approached Kate with a datapad containing the latest intelligence reports. "Admiral, we're receiving diplomatic communications from 12 different alien civilizations. They all want to establish formal relations with humanity." Kate looked out at the stars that no longer seemed hostile and unknown. "What kind of relations, Sandra?" "Trade agreements, mostly. It seems that our victory over the Galactic Defense Coalition has earned us considerable respect throughout this region of the galaxy. Several species are offering to share technology in exchange for human protection. The transformation had been remarkable to witness. Before the war, alien species had viewed humans as dangerous primitives who needed to be contained or destroyed. Now those same species were asking for human alliance and protection against other threats in the galaxy. Commander Ben Turner walked onto the observation deck carrying reports from the outer system patrols. "Admiral, our scouts have detected another alien fleet approaching the system. But this one is flying diplomatic flags and requesting permission to enter our space." Kate nodded and activated her communicator. "Communications, patch me through." "To the approaching fleet." The main display screen activated to show an alien commander Kate didn't recognize. The being had silver skin and multiple eyes, clearly from a species humanity had never encountered before. "Human Admiral, I am Fleet. Commander Zixthul of the Hegemony of Distant Stars. We come seeking an audience with your leadership." Kate studied the alien carefully before responding. "Commander, state your business in human space." "Admiral, my government wishes to propose a mutual defense treaty between our species. We have territories bordering Corvan Empire space, and we fear they may seek revenge for their defeat at your hands." The conversation continued for several minutes as Kate negotiated with yet another alien species, seeking human military alliance. It was a situation she never could have imagined a year ago when the Endeavour first departed for Proxima Centauri. After ending the communication, Kate walked to her office where President Hayes was waiting for her via secure video link from Earth. "Kate, I've been reviewing the diplomatic reports from across human space," the president said. "We're receiving requests for military assistance from nearly 50 different alien civilizations." Kate sat down at her desk and activated her own copy of the diplomatic files. "Mr. President, it appears that our victory has created a power vacuum in this region of the galaxy. Species that were previously dominated by the Corvan Empire and their allies are now seeking new protectors. The question is, do we want to become the new regional superpower?" It was a question that kept Kate awake at night. Humanity had fought the Galactic War to protect their right to exist and explore the stars. But their victory had thrust them into a position of leadership they never sought. "Sir, I think we need to be very careful about how we proceed," Kate replied. "We've proven that humans can fight when necessary, but we don't want to become the same kind of galactic bullies that attacked us in the first place." President Hayes nodded in agreement. "My thoughts exactly. I want you to begin establishing what we're calling the Free Species Alliance. Any civilization that wants human protection will get it, but in exchange they have to agree to certain principles of peaceful coexistence." Over the following weeks, Kate worked with diplomatic teams from Earth to establish humanity's first interstellar alliance. The Treaty of Kepler, named after the moon where it was signed, created a new political structure in the local region of the galaxy. The treaty established several key principles that reflected human values and experience. Member species agreed to resolve disputes through negotiation rather than warfare. They committed to protecting the rights of individual citizens regardless of their species or world of origin. Most importantly, they agreed to share defensive technology and coordinate responses to external threats. High Commander Vex Thul, now a prisoner of war being held at Kepler Station, requested a meeting with Admiral Sullivan. Kate agreed to see him, curious about what the alien leader who had started the conflict wanted to discuss. Vex Thul was brought to Kate's office under guard, looking much older and more tired than he had during their first communication months earlier. The alien leader sat down across from Kate and looked at her with what appeared to be respect. "Admiral Sullivan, I wanted to apologize for my actions against your species," Vex Thul said quietly. "The Confederacy acted from fear and misunderstanding, but that does not excuse the deaths we caused." Kate studied the alien commander who had ordered the attack on the Endeavour. "High Commander, your actions led to the death of Dr. Ward and thousands of others in the war that followed. Apologies don't bring back the dead." "No, they do not," Vex Thul agreed. "But perhaps my testimony about human character can prevent future conflicts. I have been speaking with your diplomats about the misconceptions that led to our attack." Kate learned that Vex Thul had been providing detailed information about how other alien species viewed humanity. His insights were helping human negotiators understand the fears and concerns of potential allies and enemies. "Admiral, may I ask you something?" Vex Thul said. Kate nodded for him to continue. Why did your species show mercy to defeated enemies? The Corvan Empire would have executed all prisoners and enslaved the survivors. Yet humans have treated captured aliens with dignity and offered medical care to the wounded. Kate considered her answer carefully. High Commander, humans learned long ago that how you treat your enemies says more about your character than how you treat your friends. We fought to protect ourselves, not to become conquerors. Vexthul was quiet for a long moment. The Confederacy believed humans were dangerous because of your history of warfare. We failed to understand that your experience with conflict had also taught you compassion and restraint. The conversation with Vexthul reminded Kate of how much the galaxy had changed since the Endeavor's first journey to Proxima Centauri. Humanity had gone from unknown primitives to respected allies in less than a year. But the most important change was in how humans viewed themselves and their place in the universe. They were no longer alone in the galaxy, and they had proven they could defend themselves against any threat. The stars were open to human exploration and settlement. Dr. Amy Rodriguez, now promoted to Director of Interspecies Communications, entered Kate's office with news that made everything clear. Admiral, we've just received a priority transmission from Earth. The Global Assembly has voted to approve the Colonial Expansion Act. Kate smiled as she read the legislation that would fund the establishment of human colonies on dozens of worlds throughout the local region. Humanity was finally ready to claim their place among the stars. The memorial service for Captain Jake Morrison and all the others who died in the war was held in the main conference room of Kepler Station. Representatives from 30 different alien species attended to pay their respects to the humans who had given their lives for freedom. As Kate spoke about Jake's sacrifice and Dr. Ward's dedication to peaceful exploration, she looked out at the mixed gathering of humans and aliens, who had come together despite their differences. This was what Jake had died for. A galaxy where different species could coexist and cooperate. Captain Morrison and his crew went to the stars in search of knowledge and discovery, Kate said. They found conflict instead, but their sacrifice made it possible for future generations to explore the galaxy in peace. After the memorial service, Kate walked back to the observation deck, where she had spent so many hours planning humanity's defense. The stars looked different now, full of possibilities rather than threats. Commander Turner joined her at the viewing window. Admiral, the first colonial fleet is scheduled to depart Earth next month. 50,000 volunteers ready to establish new human settlements. Kate nodded and watched a convoy of human ships preparing to depart for another star system. Ben, do you think we made the right choices? We could have stayed home and avoided all this conflict. Kate, if we had stayed home, we never would have learned what we're truly capable of, Turner replied. The galaxy tried to keep humanity contained, and we proved that we can't be stopped by fear or force. Kate activated her personal communicator and opened a channel to all human ships and stations throughout the local region of space. This is Admiral Sullivan to all human personnel, she broadcast. 1 year ago, the Endeavor left Earth on a mission of peaceful exploration. That mission led to conflict, but it also led to something greater. We've earned our place in the galaxy not through conquest, but through our willingness to fight for our right to exist. She paused and looked out at the stars that now belong to humanity, as much as any other species.